Goodluck Ebele Azikiwe Jonathan was the vice president to Umaru Musa Yar'Adua 2007 to 2010 when Yar'Adua died in office. That time, Jonathan was called Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. After Yar'Adua died, Jonathan became the acting president in the sense that he was not the elected president. He was only vice president. And so he was not elected president, but continued to act as the president after the demise of Yar'Adua. Now, in 2011, Yar'Adua died in 2010. Another presidential election was due in 2011. You would have expected Jonathan, if he were a perfect gentleman, to allow Yar'Adua's Northwest to complete Yar'Adua's second term, step down and allow the Northwest to produce a successor to Yar'Adua. But he was too desperate to become the president. In 1999, the whole of Nigeria understood that there was an agreement that cut across the political parties to make the presidency to rotate north and south, or south and north, since it started with with Olusegun Obasanjo from the south, so, and then to go to the north, of course. And Obasanjo was true to that, because from the northwest, from the southwest, somebody was chosen from the northwest in person of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. So you would have expected that Jonathan will allow the Northwest to complete his the second term of Yar'Adua. But he was too desperate for that. And he spent time, money, energy, strategies to convince who is who in the determination of who becomes the president. He used the Christian Association of Nigeria. He whipped up religious sentiment and ethnic sentiment, and so added Azikiwe to his name, and thereby becoming Goodluck Ebele Azikiwe Jonathan. His mother is said to be an Igbo, and that his maternal grandfather gave him Azikiwe when he was born. All of that we did not know until Jonathan wanted to succeed Yar'Adua, not himself, not coming from the northwest of Yar'Adua. At any rate, it will seem that one of the promises made to the Fulani, the northern Muslim imperialists, was to perpetuate the war against the Boko Haram Muslim community, started by his late boss, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. But it will also seem that he was persuaded to regard the Boko Haram Muslim community as a community to be exterminated from his serving as vice president to Yar'Adua. At any rate, he keyed into the war and squandered his entire 4 years fighting the war against the Boko Haram Muslim community. But also that there were northerners who will never forgive Goodluck Jonathan for denying the Northwest of second-term presidency as conceded to the Southwest in person of Olusegun Obasanjo. And so they were not going to make the country governable for him. There was no doubt about that. But was that enough for him to squander human lives and economic resources of Nigeria fighting an unjust war? At any rate, that was what Jonathan did for 4 years. No peace, no progress. And that was the real reason Nigerians decided to vote him out. That was the real reason. And the All Progressives Congress of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Muhammadu Buhari took advantage of the prevailing dissatisfaction to promise El Dorado. I discovered the lie when I went out, and because I was a fanatical supporter of Muhammadu Buhari, when they were saying that he was thrifty and he was not extravagant, and so we devote himself to the development of Nigeria. I was persuaded until one day I went out and saw his poster where he says, "I will defeat Boko Haram." That was the day, that was some time before the election that I did. It was my saddest day in 2015, seeing that poster. And so I came to realize that he was not coming to develop Nigeria, but to fight Boko Haram, as did Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, as did Goodluck Ebele Azikiwe Jonathan. So I ended up not voting for either Jonathan or Muhammadu Buhari, because I saw that, I came to see that he was coming to fight Boko Haram and was not going to give peace to Nigeria. And how did it go? After he was elected on the basis of going to sell fuel for 50 naira and going to provide electricity within 6 months and all of that. Which of it did he realize? Now, so Jonathan will have promised them, the Fulani Muslim imperialists, of continuation of the war with Boko Haram. And that was, but he did something unimaginable, which made me to regard Goodluck Ebele Azikiwe Jonathan as devil's incarnate. Why? Because he persuaded Christians to support the war against the Boko Haram. He used his influence to make Pastor Ayo Orisejafo from his region to emerge as the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria. And Christian Association of Nigeria became his ally in the war against the Boko Haram Muslim community. And Christians started saying that Boko Haram is enemy of Christians and Muslims. And things like that to demonize the Boko Haram Muslim community. And that was why the Boko Haram Muslim community started attacking churches in retaliation, until I called the attention of Boko Haram to the fact that in an article, in a newspaper article, I wrote letter to Boko Haram in the newspapers saying that Boko Haram should take note of the politics of Jonathan, playing the Christian Association of Nigeria against Boko Haram, and that Boko Haram had nothing to do with Christians, had no issue with Christians, but with their fellow Muslims who don't want them to exist and abusing governmental power against them. So allowing Jonathan to play Christian Association of Nigeria against Boko Haram to be bombing churches is to give the dog a name that does not belong to it, so as the whole world will now see that Boko Haram was anti-Christianity when it was not. Boko Haram got the message, and from that moment stop bombing churches in those days. In 2012, it stopped bombing churches on reading my letter, because from the time I posted that letter in the newspapers, church bombing stopped. If anybody knows what stopped Boko Haram from bombing churches, should come out and say so. And I got an acknowledgement letter from Boko Haram saying that if anybody stands up against me, I should let them know. That's the truth. I got the letter in my email, But it's to tell you how devilish Goodluck Jonathan can be, And now, because he pleased the northern Muslim imperialists, they would rather have him from the south. And you can say that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has keyed into the war himself, vowing to perpetuate the war, including the herdsmen terrorism started by his immediate predecessor from the same All Progressives Congress Party, Muhammadu Buhari, the war against herdsmen terrorists. So somebody now that they will be the northern Muslim imperialists will like to favor is someone like Goodluck Ebele Azikiwe Jonathan, or somebody they can control. And that is why I think they have opted for either Goodluck Jonathan or Rotimi Amaechi. It stands to reason that if they enthrone Rotimi Amaechi, they will be able to control him to continue in the line of Muhammadu Buhari, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, Goodluck Ebele Azikiwe Jonathan, Muhammadu Buhari, and Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself vowed to continue in the line of Yar'Adua, Jonathan, and Buhari, and that is why there is no security. Worse than that, of course, in addition to that, Tinubu came with his own promotion of corruption, carrying corruption to the next level, saying that fuel subsidy is gone, electricity subsidy gone, kerosene, gas, all of that, and only to be floating fraudulent palliative schemes, including claiming to transfer funds to indigent families while failing to pay workers living wages, turning workers' families into indigent families, and all of that. But in summary, Peter Obi, who is turned down by the coalition because he's not ready to dance to the tune of the coalition, should be preferred and supported by anybody who don't want the status quo to continue. Because this is a ravaging status quo of war with against Boko Haram, herdsmen terrorism, and fraudulent palliative schemes. After cutting off the head, you say you want to stitch it together. That is what Tinubu represents. And if Malam Nasir El-Rufai, who was part and parcel of the APC that brought Nigeria to her economic and security needs, is now anti-APC because Tinubu did not give him ministerial appointment. And what do you call him? Atiku Abubakar, who said he told Olusegun Obasanjo to wage war against Boko Haram. He said Obasanjo agreed, but we know he didn't. And that Boko Haram outlived the presidency of Olusegun Obasanjo because he did not see why the Boko Haram Muslims should be attacked, being a peaceful community protesting against Haram and enjoying the benefits of the constitution that guarantees religious freedom and freedom of association. So I am saying all of this to let Nigerians know what is happening. Jonathan danced to the tune of the Fulani Muslim imperialists. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is dancing to the tune of the Fulani Muslim imperialists, coupled with own corrupt instincts, carrying corruption to the next level. Fuel subsidy is gone. Electricity. So what is left for Nigerians to enjoy? And that's why Nigeria is not enjoying. And because you have continued to sustain the war against Boko Haram and herdsmen terrorism, Nigeria is doomed, as it were.